Thud. My heartbeat slams against my ribs as the car jerks violently, the outside world flashing in streaks of cold, night-soaked color through the windows. I look over at Jason, gripping the wheel so tightly, his knuckles pale, and my voice cracks as I whisper his name. He doesn't answer. His eyes stay fixed forward, sharp, frantic, as if he's chasing something only he can see. The hum of the engine deepens into an animal growl, vibrating beneath my feet, rattling the loose coins in the cup holder. My breath fogs the cold glass as I try to steady myself, sensing his anger simmering even though I don't know why. A sick twist knots in my stomach, every instinct telling me something is wrong. Terribly wrong. Then, without warning, Jason turns toward me, his face hollowed by the dashboard lights, and his hand reaches out. But it isn't to protect me. It's to shove. In the split second before the door bursts open, my mind asks the one question that will haunt me forever. Why is my best friend trying to kill me? Cold air slams into my body as I tumble onto the asphalt, the world twisting into blinding streaks of gray and black. A scream tears from my throat, swallowed instantly by the roar of speeding tires. Pain erupts in my shoulder as I skid across rough gravel, sparks of white exploding behind my eyes. For a long moment I can't breathe, can't move, only lie there with the distant echo of Jason's engine fading down the highway. My fingers curl instinctively into the freezing dirt, trying to anchor myself to reality. The night feels impossibly huge around me, the sky stretching overhead like an endless black ocean. I push myself onto my knees, gasping, trying to understand what just happened. Jason, my best friend, the person who once swore he'd always protect me. The silence after his disappearance feels louder than the fall itself. The sting of raw skin forces me awake when my thoughts start to drift. I drag my hand across the ground, feeling tiny stones cut into my palm as I pull myself closer to the shoulder of the road. My legs tremble uncontrollably, refusing to hold my weight when I try to stand. The forest on either side looms like a dark wall, branches brushing together with soft, sinister whispers. I swallow hard, tasting blood. My head pulses with every heartbeat, and flashes of the last few minutes replay in jagged pieces. Jason's hollow stare, his hand reaching out, the way his voice had gone eerily quiet before everything snapped. I blink through the dizziness, trying to steady my breathing. I need help. I need light. I need anything that isn't this cold, empty stretch of highway. Shivering, I push myself along the guardrail, using it to keep from collapsing again. My vision wavers, turning the world into smeared colors each time I blink. A sudden gust of wind cuts through my clothes, leaving me trembling harder. My teeth chatter uncontrollably. I stare down the long empty highway, hoping for headlights, for another car, for a miracle. Anything that doesn't leave me alone with the echo of Jason's voice in my head. The memory of his expression before he shoved me makes something cold settle inside my chest. I whisper his name out loud, as if saying it might make sense of all this, but the name just hangs in the air, unanswered, swallowed by night. I make it only a few more steps before my body gives out again, sending me to my knees. This time I don't fight it. I just stay there, trying to breathe through the stabbing pain in my side. Somewhere in the distance, an owl calls, the sound hauntingly calm compared to the chaos inside my head. I look up at the sky, its darkness so complete it feels like it could swallow me whole. But then, a faint glow, just barely visible through the trees down the road. A light. My heart stutters with desperate hope. Maybe a house. Maybe a passing car. Maybe someone who won't leave me to die on this frozen highway. Gritting my teeth, I force myself up again, every muscle screaming as I stumble toward that fragile, distant flicker. The cold settles into my bones as I drag myself along the edge of the road, each movement sending shocks of pain up my spine. Gravel grinds beneath my palms, sharp enough to reopen fresh scrapes, but I force myself forward anyway. The faint light ahead flickers through branches like a distant star, too far to trust, but too important to ignore. My breath comes in short, ragged bursts that fog the air, disappearing as quickly as they appear. Every few feet I stop to swallow the dizziness that keeps tilting the world sideways. I think of Jason. Of the look in his eyes, that strange emptiness right before he shoved me, and the memory squeezes my chest. I push it away and focus on survival, on the tiny glow that feels like my only thread back to the living. My voice cracks as I whisper, "Don't stop. Don't stop." And so I keep crawling. A wave of nausea forces me to stop, pressing my forehead against the icy guardrail as I try to breathe through it. The metal feels like a block of frozen stone against my skin, grounding me just enough to keep panic from taking over. The trees rustle with a low, eerie whisper, their branches swaying like shadows trying to reach for. I close my eyes and count slowly, hoping it will steady the spinning inside my head. 1, 2, 3. The world swims back into focus, though the pain in my ribs burns hot and deep. The light ahead has grown brighter, closer. I cling to that tiny comfort. I don't know who or what waits at the source, but anything is better than this cold night that feels ready to swallow me whole. I push off the rail, fingers shaking, and force myself to keep going. My legs threaten to buckle again, but I steady myself by pressing a hand to the ground, feeling the cold earth pulse with the faint tremor of distant traffic. I scrape together what little strength I have left, pushing forward in uneven steps. Every inch of my body hurts. My shoulder throbs, my palms burn, and my ribs feel like they're splintering with each breath. But something inside me refuses to give up. Maybe it's fear. Maybe stubbornness. Maybe the simple fact that I'm not ready to let Jason's betrayal be the last chapter of my life. A sudden breeze carries the faint smell of smoke. Wood smoke, warm and earthy. My heart jumps. That means someone nearby. Someone alive. The light is no longer a flicker. It's steady now, glowing like a beacon. I limp toward it, whispering encouragement to myself with every step. The closer I get, the more my fear shifts into hope. Shaky, fragile hope, but hope all the same. The glow ahead resolves into something real. A lamp hanging outside a small structure half hidden by trees. My throat tightens with relief, though exhaustion makes every step feel like wading through thick mud. My hand brushes the rough bark of a tree as I steady myself, its texture grounding me. I listen for voices, footsteps, anything, but only the hum of insects and distant wind answers. I swallow and push forward, willing my body not to collapse before I reach safety. My vision blurs, then sharpens again. One more step, then another. "Please," I whisper into the darkness. "Please be someone who can help." I stumble into the clearing, my breath breaking into sharp, uneven gasps. The small building comes fully into view. Weathered wood, a single window glowing from inside, and smoke drifting lazily from a metal chimney. My knees tremble under me, threatening to give out, but I force myself to stay upright. I raise a hand and try to call out, but my voice cracks into nothing more than a strained whisper. Panic nudges at me. What if no one hears? What if no one's inside? I swallow hard, summon whatever remains of my strength, and step onto the short, uneven path leading to the door. The world tilts dangerously, and a wave of dizziness sweeps over me. I reach out for the doorframe just as my vision dims. "Please," I manage, barely audible, as darkness presses close. Warmth hits me like a wave the moment the cabin door opens, and for a split second I think I might collapse right there on the threshold. A figure rushes forward, steady hands gripping my arms before I hit the floor. The sudden change from freezing night to firelit air makes my vision swirl with bright spots. A calm, firm voice tells me to breathe, to stay conscious, that help is already on the way. I cling to those words as if they're the only solid thing in the room. My knees finally buckle, and the stranger eases me onto a worn couch near the crackling stove. The room feels safe, unreal. A pocket of warmth against everything that tried to kill me outside. When I finally blink the blur away, I see a uniformed officer kneeling beside me, her eyes steady and focused. "I'm Officer Riley Torres," she says gently. "You're safe now. Just tell me what happened." But the moment I try, my throat tightens around the memory. My voice shakes as I try to force the words out. But each attempt feels like dragging a memory through barbed wire. Officer Torres waits silently, her expression patient but intent, giving me time to gather myself. The crackling fire fills the silence, a soft contrast to the panic still hammering inside my chest. I close my eyes and try again, explaining in fragments. Jason driving too fast, his strange silence, the sudden shove, the cold wind tearing through the door as the world flipped upside down. Riley doesn't interrupt. She only nods, absorbing everything, her calm presence keeping me anchored. When I mention Jason's name, something flickers across her face. Concern, recognition, maybe both. "You're safe now," she repeats. But the truth is, I've never felt further from safety. Riley leans back slightly, thoughtful. "We'll find him," she says, "but I need every detail you can remember." Riley steps outside to radio her team, leaving me wrapped in a rough wool blanket that smells faintly of pine. The warmth should comfort me, but instead it makes the shakes worse. Like my body is finally reacting now that survival isn't the only priority. Through the window, I watch Riley pacing near her patrol vehicle, her breath forming quick bursts of white in the cold. Every few seconds, she looks back toward the cabin, checking on me. I try to steady my breathing, focusing on the rhythm of the fire, but Jason's face keeps flashing in my mind. His jaw clenched, his eyes empty, his hand reaching not to save me, but to end me. A chill runs through me despite the heat. Riley returns, brushing snow from her shoulders, and kneels beside me again. "We've got units heading this way," she says softly. "We'll get you to the station soon." "You're not alone in this." Riley guides me carefully to her patrol car, the night air biting at my skin the moment we step outside. The cold seems even sharper now after the brief warmth of the cabin. She helps me into the back seat, her movements steady, practiced, yet gentle in a way that eases some of the fear still clawing inside me. As the engine rumbles to life, the headlights cut through the fog curling around the forest road. Riley glances at me through the rearview mirror, her eyes full of unspoken questions. "We'll get you checked out at the station," she says. "And then we'll start piecing this together." The way she says it makes me realize my story isn't just a personal nightmare anymore. It's the beginning of an investigation. And Jason isn't just my best friend who snapped. He's a suspect. The drive feels long, even though Riley assures me the station is only a few miles away. Every bump in the road sends a jolt of pain through my ribs, but I grit my teeth and hold on to the blanket tighter. The farther we get from the mountains, the heavier everything feels. Like the truth is settling over me, solid and undeniable. I replay Jason's expression again and again, searching for something human behind the madness, some hint that he hesitated. But all I remember is the shove and the sound of rushing wind. Riley's voice breaks into my thought. "We'll talk to you once the medic looks you over," she says gently. "Just breathe. You're safe." I nod, though safety still feels like a distant thing. As we pull into the station lot, the bright floodlights wash over the car, and a strange mix of dread and relief tightens in my chest. Whatever comes next, it starts now. The station feels colder than the mountain air, though heat hums steadily through the vents. I sit on a stiff chair in a small interview room, the hum of fluorescent lights buzzing softly overhead. My body aches in a dozen places, but it's the silence that hurts the most. The waiting, the not knowing. A thin blanket rests over my shoulders, more symbolic than warm. Through the one-way glass, shadows shift as officers move outside, their muffled voices rising and falling. When Officer Riley steps into the room, her expression has changed. Not colder, but heavier, as if she's carrying something she wishes she didn't have to say. She places a folder on the table, its edges worn from handling. "Emily," she begins softly, pulling out a few documents. "We found something you need to see." My pulse quickens. Something tightens in my chest. Whatever she's about to reveal, it isn't good. Riley opens the folder, sliding a few grainy photos toward me. At first, I don't understand what I'm looking at. Receipts, bank statements, a blurry shot of Jason standing outside a pawn shop. Then it clicks. My stomach drops as I recognize my mother's old necklace in the photo, the one she left me before she passed. Jason had helped me move last year. He was the only one who knew where I kept it. My throat tightens as Riley explains that the necklace was pawned 2 weeks ago, and that the signature on the form matches Jason's handwriting. My chest aches with something deeper than physical pain. Betrayal. Raw, suffocating betrayal. Riley watches my reaction carefully, compassion softening her voice. "Emily, this wasn't random. He's been hiding things from you for a long time." I shake my head, refusing to believe the friend I trusted most could steal from me, let alone try to kill me. Riley continues, her voice low, explaining how financial trouble had been closing in on Jason for months. Debts, overdue payments, accounts nearly empty. He never told me. Not once. She lays out a timeline, each detail hitting harder than the last. The arguments he'd gotten into around town, the desperation in his recent behavior, and the withdrawal records showing how I'd been using my identity for small transactions. I feel sick. I remember the odd changes in him recently, the late-night calls he ignored, the way he'd flinch whenever I asked if he was okay. It all pieces together into a picture I never wanted to see. Riley pauses before revealing the final detail. "We think he believed you were about to uncover everything." That maybe. You confronting him pushed him over the edge. The words echo in my head. I wasn't just a victim of an accident. I was a loose end he wanted to erase. Riley steps away for a moment, leaving the evidence scattered across the table. I stare at the papers, my vision clouding as everything I thought I knew about Jason splinters apart. Memories flood my mind, laughing on hikes, sharing meals, confiding in each other about everything. Or, at least, I thought we did. I wonder how long he's been slipping away, hiding pieces of himself behind a smile I trusted blindly. A sharp ache crawls up my throat, but I force myself to stay still. When Riley returns, she brings a fresh stack of reports. This time, statements from people around town. Some mention Jason asking strange questions about my schedule. Others saw him parked near my place late at night. Each detail twists the knife deeper. "I'm sorry," Riley says gently, "but you deserve the truth, even when it hurts. And it hurts more than I ever imagined." Riley sits down again, her tone shifting from informative to protective. "Emily, this wasn't just about money," she says carefully. "We think Jason resented you. Deeply." The words settle like stones in my stomach. She explains how some people described him as jealous. Of my job, my friendships, the stability he felt slipping away from his own life. I close my eyes, remembering all the times he brushed off questions about how he was doing, or how he'd tense whenever someone praised my accomplishments. The pieces click painfully into place. This wasn't a sudden break, it was a slow build. A storm gathering just out of sight, until it finally broke in the worst way possible. Riley leans forward, voice gentle but firm. "We're going to find him. and you're going to get justice. You survived for a reason." Her words steady me, though the hurt remains like a bruise on my heart. The station's hallways fill with urgent footsteps as officers prepare to search the mountain backroads for Jason. Even from the waiting bench where Riley told me to rest, I feel the energy shifting, phones ringing, radios crackling, the hum of engines starting outside. My body still aches, but my mind is sharper now, fueled by a mix of fear and anger that won't let me sit still. Riley rushes past with a clipboard, giving me a reassuring nod before disappearing into the flurry of motion. I keep replaying the moment Jason pushed me, the emptiness in his eyes, trying to understand how someone I love like family could twist so deeply inside himself. A cold thought whispers through me. What if he's watching from somewhere nearby? What if he's already planning whatever comes next? The idea sends a tremor through me. Riley finally returns, her voice firm. "We've got a location ping. He hasn't gotten far." My heart pounds. The hunt has begun. Riley leads me to a small observation room, insisting it's safer for me to stay inside while the units close in on Jason's location. Through the window, I watch patrol cars pull out one by one, their headlights slicing across the parking lot like sharp beams of hope, cutting through the dark. My pulse races with every engine that revs and every radio call that echoes down the corridors. I can't shake the image of Jason behind the wheel, his jaw tight, his eyes carrying that hollow storm I never saw coming. The thought that he's out there running from everything he's done twists something deep in my chest. Riley places a warm hand on my shoulder before joining the others. "We'll bring him in alive," she says in a tone meant to comfort, though the tension in her voice reveals her doubt. When the last car disappears into the night, silence fills the station, heavy and expectant. Minutes stretch into what feels like hours as updates filter in over the radio. Officers reporting tire tracks, sightings of an older sedan matching Jason's car, and the sound of engines echoing in the mountains. I try to sit still on the bench, but my leg bounces uncontrollably, my hands twisting the edge of the blanket. My mind drifts back to memories of Jason laughing with me on long drives, telling stories with that bright spark in his eyes. When did that light fade? When did resentment replace friendship? Riley returns briefly to check on me, her expression grim. "He's avoiding the main roads," she explains. "He knows these woods well. The realization sinks like stone. Jason planned for this. He knew how to disappear." The fear in my chest tightens, but beneath it, something else grows. Determination. Whatever he was running from, whatever twisted him, I refuse to let him take anything else from me. The radio crackles suddenly, the sharpness of the sound slicing through the stillness. Riley rushes to the dispatcher's desk as a voice comes through, breathless, intense. "Unit 3, visual on suspect vehicle. He's heading north along Ridgewater Pass." My stomach flips. Ridgewater Pass is narrow, dangerous, with cliffs that drop straight into the valley. Riley grabs her jacket, motioning for another officer to stay with me. But I stand, shaking my head. I need to know what's happening. I insist. She pauses, her eyes softening with understanding. "You'll stay here. I promise we'll bring him back." The officer assigned to me tries to offer reassurance, but my heart is already pounding too hard. North Ridgewater is where Jason used to take me to watch the stars. I imagine him speeding through the same roads now. Not peaceful, but panicked, cornered by consequences he thought he could escape. Time slows as the final update comes through. Suspect vehicle heading toward the ridge overlook. Speed increasing. A chill sweeps through me as I imagine the winding cliffside roads, the sharp turns, the steep drop. Riley's face hardens with resolve. She grabs the radio and responds with calm authority. Then she turns to me, her expression caught between duty and concern. "This might get rough," she warns, "but we'll handle it." I nod, though fear curls deep inside me. Part of me wonders whether Jason is trying to escape, or if he's spiraling toward something darker. The officer beside me shifts uneasily, as if sensing the same dread. Outside, engines roar as the second search team departs. I close my eyes, gripping the blanket tightly, whispering a silent plea that whatever happens next ends without another tragedy. It's all I can hope for. The station feels unbearably still after the last convoy of patrol cars pulls away. I pace the small observation room, unable to sit, unable to breathe evenly. The blanket slips from my shoulders, but I don't bother picking it up. My heart is pounding too loudly, my mind too tangled in fear and anger to care about anything else. Every few minutes, the radio crackles with distant updates. Officers calling out mile markers, tire tracks, shadowy sightings of Jason's car weaving through the mountain turns. Each report tightens the knot growing inside me. I don't know if I want him caught or if I want answers first. Maybe both. Maybe neither. Riley finally returns, her boots tracking snow across the floor, and she meets my eyes with a seriousness that freezes every thought in my head. "I've cornered him on the ridge," she says quietly. "He's stopped the car. He isn't moving." The words land like a punch. The moment I feared is here. Riley leads me toward the waiting cruiser, her stride quick and decisive. I follow despite the tremor in my legs, driven by something I can't name. Fear, anger, or maybe the desperate need to understand why the person I trusted most tried to end my life. The ride up the mountain is tense. The patrol car vibrating over rough terrain as fog thins into streaks of pale moonlight. Riley keeps one hand steady on the wheel, her face lit by alternating flashes of red and blue. She updates the units ahead, asking them to maintain distance until we arrive. I stare out the window, watching the dark trees blur past, remembering the times Jason and I drove these same roads laughing, music blasting, windows down. Now the silence between us is heavy, suffocating. When we reach the ridge overlook, the road narrows, curving sharply until the sight of Jason's car finally emerges, parked crookedly near the edge, headlights cutting into empty space. The moment I step out of the cruiser, cold wind slices through me, sharp enough to make me gasp. Several officers stand positioned behind their vehicles, forming a cautious perimeter around Jason's car. Riley rests a steadying hand on my arm before leading me forward. My pulse hammers so loudly, I can barely hear anything else. Jason sits in the driver's seat, motionless, his face partially lit by the harsh beam of a spotlight. When he finally turns his head, our eyes lock, and something inside me freezes. His expression is a haunting mix of exhaustion, fear, and something darker. Resentment carved so deep, I almost don't recognize him. The world around us seems to fall away. No radios, no officers. Just the echo of a bond shattered beyond repair. I swallow hard and take a step closer. Why? The word breaks from me, fragile and desperate. Jason's gaze flickers, his jaw tightening. "You left me behind," he murmurs. Jason pushes the door open slowly, stepping out with hands visible, though his posture is anything but surrender. His eyes never leave mine. "Everything was slipping," he says quietly, voice strained. "My job, my money, everyone choosing you, never me." His words hit harder than the fall from the car ever did. I shake my head, tears mixing with cold wind on my cheeks. "I never left you," I whisper. "You shut me out." Riley steps closer, staying just within reach in case he tries anything, but she lets me speak. Jason laughs. A hollow, broken sound that cracks in the middle. "You were supposed to help me. You owed me that much." The entitlement in his tone sends a chill through me. I take a shaky step forward, anger replacing fear. "I didn't owe you my life," I say. The truth hangs between us, raw and irreversible. Jason's shoulders sag. Then why did you have everything I didn't? Riley steps forward, her voice cutting through the swirling wind. Jason, this ends now, she commands, steady but not unkind. Jason's eyes dart between us, the panic growing, twisting his expression into something desperate. You took everything from me, he mutters, almost to himself. You didn't even know you were doing it? I feel my heart break. Not for him, but for everything we once were. Jason, I say softly. You could have asked for help. His jaw tightens, and for a moment I see a flicker of the friend I used to know. But it fades beneath the storm brewing behind his eyes. The officers shift cautiously, sensing danger. Riley takes another step. Don't do anything stupid, she warns. Jason breathes sharply, chest rising and falling like he's fighting himself. Then, finally, his shoulders drop. His voice cracks. I'm tired. He lifts his hands in surrender. My knees nearly give way. The nightmare is ending, just not cleanly. The sun is just starting to rise when we return to the station, its pale light softening the edges of everything that felt so sharp hours ago. My body feels heavy, as if the adrenaline has finally drained out and left me hollow. Riley walks beside me, steady and quiet, guiding me into a small medical room where a nurse checks my injuries. The antiseptic smell mixes with the cold morning air seeping in from the hallway. I stare at the wall while the nurse wraps my shoulder, my mind replaying Jason's surrender over and over. The way his voice cracked. The look in his eyes when everything finally broke open. I expected closure to feel cleaner, sharper. Like the final page of a chapter I could close and never look at again. Instead, it feels tangled, complicated, like grief woven into guilt and relief. Riley places a warm hand on my arm and says softly, "You did everything right." I nod. But inside, I'm not sure what right even means anymore. A few hours later, I find myself sitting in a quiet corner office, watching through the window as officers walk Jason, handcuffed, head lowered, across the parking lot to a transport vehicle. It's strange how small he looks now, how the person who nearly destroyed my life seems so fragile in the cold morning light. Riley stands beside me, arms folded, silent but steady. I want to hate him. I want to feel nothing at all. But instead, there's an ache in my chest for the friend I lost, long before he ever pushed me from that car. People break in different ways, Riley murmurs, as if sensing the storm in my mind. I nod but keep my eyes fixed on Jason. Once, he was the person I trusted most. Now, he's someone I barely recognize. The vehicle door closes with a metallic thud, echoing through the lot like an ending I never asked for. A quiet finality settles in. Later, Riley sits with me as I give my final statement. The recorder between us ticks softly, marking each second as I speak. This time, my voice doesn't tremble. I talk about the fear, the fall, the betrayal, the moments on the ridge. I tell the truth, not for Jason, but for myself. Riley listens with the same quiet patience she's shown since the beginning, never rushing me, never looking away. When I finish, she clicks off the recorder and leans back, studying me with a thoughtful expression. You survived something that should have taken you, she says gently. And you kept going. That matters. I let the words settle. They don't erase the hurt, but they anchor something inside me. A reminder that surviving isn't just about what happened, but who I become afterward. For the first time since the fall, I feel the faintest spark of strength return. Once the paperwork is done, Riley walks me outside for some fresh air. The sky has brightened into soft shades of blue and orange, the early sunlight brushing warmth across my face. For a moment I just breathe, letting the cold wind carry away some of the heaviness lingering inside me. Riley stands beside me, arms crossed, staring at the mountains rising in the distance. Healing isn't a straight line, she says quietly. Some days will feel like you're starting over. But you're not. I nod, absorbing her words. The world feels different now, wider, uncertain, but no longer suffocating. I think about the cabin, the fall, the fear, and how far I've come since crawling along that dark highway. I'm not the same person who got into Jason's car last night. I'm someone who survived him, and everything he tried to take. By the time Riley drives me home, the morning has settled into a fragile calm. The familiar roads look different now, touched by something quiet and new. When we pull up to my apartment, Riley walks me to the door, making sure I can stand on my own before stepping back. "You're stronger than you think," she tells me. I give her a tired smile, grateful in ways I can't put into words. Inside, the silence feels gentle instead of threatening. I sink onto the couch, pulling the blanket around me, feeling the weight of everything I've survived. Jason's betrayal will take time to untangle, but it no longer defines me. I'm still here, still breathing, still fighting, and in that quiet morning light, for the first time, I believe I'll be okay. I survived the fall. I survived the truth. And now, I can finally begin again.